Welcome to She's Got Guts, where functional nutrition meets ancient wisdom to bring you grounded insights and practical tools for your wellness journey. Join Lara, licensed Eastern medicine practitioner and wellness wizard, and Molly, registered dietitian and gut health expert, as they unpack trends, tackle bloating, balance hormones, and help you thrive in modern womanhood without completely frickin' losing your mind. Let's do this. Okay. Woohoo.
I like that. Then 2 weeks till the horse.
The horse. Today we are talking about 3 items that are, some of them are viral, some of them maybe you've heard of, and then some of them maybe you haven't heard of, all maybe for digestion. But the impetus of this was that I love red jujube dates that they give you at the acupuncture herbal place. And
Yes.
they go like when you get the whole herbal blend and you boil them. And I would always eat them. And I was like, these are so good. And then I went to order them because Lara gave me something extremely disgusting and I had to add them in. No, it's really not that
Let's
bad.
just add in that it's effective and disgusting.
It's so effective. But it's gross.
It is.
So I ordered them and it was like good for digestion. And I thought, oh, well, let's talk about that.
What
And
does
then we're
that
going to talk about
mean?
ume
Yeah.
plums and share plums.
Okay. I love that. Well, I'll jump into the jujube. You like to call them jujube dates, right?
I don't know what the heck they're called, but that's the only thing I could see them being called as.
Yeah. So in my medicine, we call them datzao berries. So Dazao, datzao. But their Latin name is Frustic zizify jujube.
Oh.
In
ooh.
English, we just call them Chinese dates or jujube dates. And that literally just translates as big date. They can also be referred to as hangzao. So sometimes if you're looking at an herbal formula, then you might see it in there as hangzao. But usually they're made in like 4 different provinces. They're in Hainan, Hebei, Shandong, and Shanxi, where is usually where they grow them. Pardon me, I kind of butchered that last one. But they usually harvest them like in the early fall when the fruit, is nice and ripe. So kind of like, an apple or a plum or other things that are, what are the pit fruits called?
Stone fruits.
Remember? Thank you, stone fruits. So, and they
Put a
usually
palm.
pick them when they're like, when the ones that are good quality and when they're ripe is when they have a really thick skin. They're really, really juicy and they have a very small seed.
Okay.
So there you go. They are very, very sweet and neutral. Not sweet like honey sweet, but sweet. I like to say Chinese sweet. Like Chinese sweet usually means it's not actually super sweet like the stuff that you would, like the sweet I feel like our American mouths are used to. But, the flavor is that they're sweet. So they nourish, right? They're all about nourishing and adding. And then they're neutral, which I think is just kind of a meaning they're not hot or they're not cold.
Oh,
They're
good.
like
I was worried.
very neutral. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're not going to, cool down if there's cold already present. They're not going to extra heat up if there's heat already there. And they are very simple in that they enter the spleen and the stomach channel. So your spleen and stomach chi will be nourished and it won't be too hot or cold.
Okay.
And then they have a certain amount of vitamins and minerals. We have vitamin A, we have B2, we have calcium, we have phosphorus, and we have iron.
Ooh.
Which is really great. I love that it has iron because
That's cool.
not a lot of things have iron.
Yeah.
Figs and lots of leafy stuff. But the reason why we love dates is because their primary function is to what we call tonify the chi. So tonify, like I have a long bicep muscle and I want it to look less, I don't want it to be like, or let's say tricep, I think is a good way to say it,
Oh,
right? Like,
okay.
how you wave in your triceps, like, I'm waving with you. It's like, blah, 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 blah. So that would be like, if we want to tonify this muscle, that means we're going to nourish it and make the structure at its best consistency and make sure that it's really strong. A little bit like nourishing, but tonify is more bring it to its original form.
Okay.
So it does that with the spleen and stomach and the chi in general.
Okay.
And typically we would use it for people who have that picture of like a weak spleen and stomach.
Oh.
So they're tired, they're pale, their muscles aren't super strong, they have a little bit of weak digestion, They might have like not very much hunger. And I would translate that into like a hunger for life, a hunger for actual food, a hunger for connection, a hunger for joy. Like they just don't have a lot of chi in them to be able to step into those things where you're going to be using a lot of chi. Like their reserves, I shouldn't say reserves, but their ability to bring in that first step of food and nutrients is hindered. It's not as strong. And all of that is because the spleen and stomach is deficient. So it also nourishes the blood. And by doing that, it calms the spirit. So in Chinese medicine, when we don't have enough blood, you can kind of look at it as though it kind of crosses over into kind of mental health stuff. That sounds a little bit extreme, but it's true. If you don't have enough blood, you can be a little bit irritable or have anxiety or have just like a sense in your chest that feels empty. You might have like more butterflies than you normally would. Maybe you're overthinking a little bit.
Impending doom.
Yeah, a little impending doom, exactly. It's the worst. But body-wise, your menstrual cycle might be pale. Your blood would be really pale. There may not be a lot of it. Again, your muscles are not strong. You might just look kind of dull on your face. There's not like a lot of glowing that's happening. Maybe the eyes look not as bright and full of life. The lips might be pale, the fingernails and that sort of thing. So similar to what you might look like if you didn't have enough iron.
If you were
But
anemic,
blood is, yeah, exactly. But it's more about nourishing the whole blood, if that makes sense, not just ferritin levels, right? Like when we think about anemia, we think about ferritin levels, not necessarily the quality of the blood, the amount of the blood, and how that blood is moving around to nourish all of the tissues and even your spirit. And then
definitely I'm not thinking about my spirit when I think about
when
my
you think
iron
about
levels.
nourishing your blood. I know, right? Well, the other thing too is that remember each organ in Chinese medicine has like an emotion associated with it. So if we're a spleen and stomach person, right? So like if our constitution is that maybe we just don't have the strongest spleen and stomach, we can think about that with your Crohn's. Like that you just kind of constitutionally have something that you have to step in life. You have to step into tending to that quite frequently. Or someone with kidney disease or liver disease, they just have to be tending to that very frequently. And their life, kind of revolves around it. So let's say that you have a spleen and stomach disorder. A lot of the things or deficiency, what you may feel is more worry, like a little, I don't want to put too much anxiety into it because that does involve the heart. But worry is more of that feeling with the spleen and stomach. And I can't really like swallow the world. I'm having a hard time digesting the world. Like the things that I see in front of me, I just can't wrap my head around it. I just can't understand it. I can't bring it in. It's too much. No. And so when we have, if other organs are involved, so let's say the heart is usually about rallying your joy and having, this sense of openness and love towards other humans. If we don't necessarily have that, we might feel a little bit of bitterness, like the not healthy version of a heart energy would be a little bit more about bitterness.
Okay.
So if you have this severe emotional instability, and it is due to these organs being undernourished, right? So all of these organs are undernourished and it is affecting you at the spirit level. That's what we call restless organ disorder. And Datsao is one of the main herbs in that formula. I think it's a chief in that formula. Meaning it's the one that we want the body to get the message from the most. We want it to have the highest quantity, and we want the body to go, oh yeah, that's what we're bringing in. We're nourishing the blood, we're tonifying the chi, we're helping the spleen and stomach. The last thing that it does is it's kind of like ginger or licorice in that it will negate any properties of other herbs that are like slightly toxic or too hot or really, really cold. So it kind of buffers those when you combine them with other herbs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of rad. And we do have some major things that we combine them for, or that we combine them with, We combine them with gentle ginseng, dangshen, which is what's in Supercube, and Baijiu, astractolokes, and that's for the spleen and stomach just causing a lot of fatigue. Like when you're super tired, if you just have a little gentle ginseng, a little Baijiu, and your Datsao, that's great. Those are easy to buy on their own too if you want to just make a little decoction of those or if you want to add them into something in the morning. those help because it is the hour of the spleen and stomach in the morning between 7 and 9 a.m. So if you wake up and you give your spleen and stomach herbs, you're just like double duty and crushing it with making sure your spleen and stomach are happy. When we don't have enough blood, we'll mix it with things like dongui, which is just another blood nourishing herb. And then with this one's kind of interesting. Remember we talked about the organ disorder, the restless organ disorder. If you combine it with licorice and wheat, you can find it very helpful for that. And obviously you wouldn't do that for someone with a celiac disorder, but they find wheat to be very calming in traditional Chinese medicine. If you mix it with just ginger, it's going to help with what we call a disharmony between the nutritive qi and the protective qi. So right there, that would be between the spleen and stomach and the lung. So the lung is where we kind of reside our immune system, right? Like our ability to protect ourselves from the outside world.
Yeah.
So the toggling and nourishment and connection that happens between those two organ systems is essentially like saying the digestive system and the immunity. So again, for someone like yourself, where those two things, like the immunity with the Crohn's being that it's autoimmune and digestive being that's the systems that it's rooted in, this combination of ginger and datsao berries is really great for that because it helps to nourish the blood by facilitating the digestion absorption. Because we know a lot of the things that we carry around for our immune system are in the blood. So that's what we talk about when we say it's not just about ferritin, it's more about nourishing the blood so it can nourish the rest of the body. Because we're just all connected, Molly.
Well, I don't know why the Amazon description didn't just say that. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't either.
The way that I use them is, so I got them from Amazon, and the way that I use them is I put them in my tea, the herb formula that you created for me that I'm sure you would create for anyone who contacted you. And I let them soak in that hot water, even though they're fairly soft. Like I've gotten them in the past, they've been more harder and dried, so they needed to be boiled more. But these are pretty soft, so I think it probably depends. And then I eat them after, and I would say the sweetness would be like a regular date. To a regular date would be like regular sugar to coconut sugar. You know how coconut sugar is like not really that sweet? It's a similar kind of like, it's like, it's the LaCroix of a date.
Yeah.
Like sweet.
Yeah. Because regular dates that we get that are dried,
I mean,
I
they're
cannot
good,
even
but
eat them. They're so sweet. Like little pieces to sweeten something is more than enough.
Right. Like I can't eat like an RX bar because it's because it's just dates and it's so sweet. I'm on board now because when you see, because I thought, maybe it's just because of the fact that it's a dried fruit and that it's a date, and both of those things do help as a soluble fiber to bulk and form and help with transit time for bowel movements. But obviously, there's so much more involved. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And that transit time you talked about, and combining it like we talked about with the dongui, the angelica. Sorry, that was the word I was trying to come up with before. Angelica. From nourishing the blood from that lack of nutrients, like you just said, that essentially is more of a physiological way to describe it. So that's really great. Now people can kind of make that connection. Yeah. So the last thing I just wanted to say here, a couple different things, is how much do you eat of them, right? So it's between 3 and 12 pieces.
Oh, wow.
And 12 is a lot. 12 is a lot. That would be like you are very depleted. And the other thing is that you don't, because when you think about herbs like this, they're very nourishing, right? And in Chinese medicine, we don't want to nourish when there is too much pathology present. So in this particular case, if we have dampness, which the spleen and stomach create, and we create that in a good way, right? Like you're talking about the fiber and how it's going to nourish all of the bacteria and make sure that you want to have a small intestine and everything needs to be wet. So that's dampness. That's great. But we don't want pathogenic dampness, and we don't want that to generate any heat. So if you have like bloating or food stagnation, which is like you swallowed something, you just feel like it's sitting here forever, that could be from a disorder that maybe there's something actually mechanical going on, or maybe it's just that your food literally isn't going anywhere. Maybe you need some more digestive enzymes. Maybe you need some hydrochloric acid. I'm not really sure, but the food is just sitting there, right? Like you're like, I'm not digesting. That's food stagnation. Or parasites. We don't want to add a whole bunch of Datsao, because when you have pathogens and you add something that nourishes, you nourish the pathogen. So you would want to clear that dampness first, which is what your formula is for, like clearing the dampness and the heat, right? Like that's why it tastes like shit, is because it's bitter and damp and it's bitter and draining. So we want to be careful with that. And then lastly, when I was looking in my fun little book, I saw that for liver disease, there was a little study that was listed. And if I can dig it up, we can add it in the show notes.
Yeah, we can add it anytime.
It didn't give me a year or a reference in the book in particular, which I was kind of bummed about. But it does say that 12 patients with high serum transaminase levels.
Transaminase.
Thank you. Can come from either, hepatitis or cirrhosis. So we have, some liver degeneration happening. They were given Datsao berries, peanuts, and brown sugar. Sounds kind of bizarre, but the brown sugar is supposed to be is meant to be very nourishing in Chinese medicine. Sugar is also a Chinese herb, and peanuts are as well. Peanuts are very yin nourishing. I kind of have a hard time with peanuts because a lot of them tend to be moldy, so you might just want to use like a nut that works for you, or make sure that they're not moldy. But after a month, for these people taking these at bedtime, the levels were significantly reduced in all of the patients.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. I thought that was so lovely. Go Datsao.
Yes. Well, they're delicious. And certainly, if you were looking for something to sweeten your tea that had a little benefit, that could be something to throw in there, right? Two of them or three of them maybe?
Yeah, 2 or 3. You can also chop them up and make them small, like you would an apple or a banana in your oatmeal in the morning. You can also do those. You just want to decoct them, though. You want to make sure they're not super dry.
Yeah.
And then because they're so nourishing in the spleen and stomach, and that does directly help nourish the skin. As we know, the inside skins, when they're happy, the outside skins are happy. And some people will combine the Datsao berries with Schizandra berries, and also gochidza berries, which are great for so that hits like the eyes, the heart, the kidneys, the liver. So that's like a good thing to drink every day. It would be a little bit like drinking a hibiscus tea. Like actually that would be fantastic, is if you brewed a hibiscus tea bag and then threw those other 3 in there and kind of let them sit at the bottom and just keep brewing your tea bag over and over, and as they decoct. And that would be fabulous. I'm sure somebody's made a tea with them, but if you like that fruity hibiscus flavor, that's a good way to go. It would be like your beauty tea, kind of.
That's very interesting. I have some hibiscus tea around here somewhere. I really think also it's just nice when we see something that has a claim on it. And I just wanted to take this opportunity and explain, because I know that in, a state where you're like, oh, I'm already doing something to better myself by adding these dates, and I'm just adding these dates to make it taste better. Then I see something that has a health claim on it, and I'm like, oh, well, that's going to be, great. But I didn't know what the actual benefit was. And so it's always nice to understand, like, is this a marketing term? Is it, more of a grounded claim? And obviously this is very complex and extremely grounded. So cool.
Yeah. And I love how Chinese medicine just hits it so roundedly, right? Like it takes a holistic approach to the whole looking at the herb, right? Like there's so many things to learn about it. Yeah. And I just want to take the opportunity to say, when people say like, oh, Datsao berries, I heard those are so good for you. Nothing annoys me more Then people say, are they good for you? And I'm like, well, who are you? I don't know. What is your constitution? What is this? What is that? You don't just say like, are they good for you? Oh yeah, that's a great food. I heard they're good for this, 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 and this. And they just rattle off all the marketing they've seen. And I'm like, okay, I know that you have to get attention with marketing and you have to speak to the person in their reptilian brain. But that doesn't mean that you can't say shit that's actually real.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
They're crocodile brain.
Are they good for you? That's what matters.
Right. And also, what are your goals and why are you reaching for this external thing? Because always when we're looking for something, like it's like when people say, oh, I know you should take oregano oil every day so that you don't get sick. And it's like, well,
that's a lot of oregano oil.
Also,
do you really need it that much?
And also, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know what to tell you. And it almost makes me feel like I'm not, you know what I mean? Because so I understand what you're saying. Because you're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Well, and it also is a great excuse when people are like, oh, I heard that's good for this. And then they're like, okay, I'm going to take that. And then I don't have to think about it anymore.
Right.
And that's totally the opposite of healing. We don't
or then
want
I don't
to
have
not
to
think
nourish
about
myself.
it.
Right.
Bringing in the awareness, yes, is the number one thing.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. I wanted to, while
plums,
we were
sister.
over, huh?
I want to know about plums.
Yeah. Well, first of all, oregano oil will really damage your esophagus if you're not doing the thing. Yeah. And like, it's going to mess with your gut microbiome. And please don't take that all the time. Okay.
Yeah. It's bolsterous. It's meant to be strong for a reason. Bolsterous. You don't need to be stripping that frequently.
Right. And, when you're when you're feeling depleted and you reach for something that's depleting, like, you might feel better for a couple of weeks, but then you're going to be even more depleted.
Yeah.
Oh, there's my TikTok for the day. Okay.
Yes. I love that.
I'm doing an experiment on TikTok. So if you follow me, just
know please follow her.
We are experimenting. Women's Gut Health. We're just experimenting. We're having fun.
I love it. I really cannot wait to see you pull this off.
Okay. Well, we're at 1350, so we'll see where we are at the end of the year.
Get it,
it's going to be 1349. I'll have gone around the world and back and ended at 1349. Okay, no, don't put that out there. Like it's the horse. We're riding on the horse with our long hair.
And that will be great.
Yeah. Ume plums, Ume, are from Southeast Asia, so we're staying in the East. And they're basically green apricots. So they're really sour and astringent, almost like, if you think about a crab apple or like if you've ever eaten a fruit that's not ripe, it's kind of like that, but it never gets ripe. And they are used in a couple different ways traditionally as a seasoning and as a digestive aid. So in Japan, umeboshi is the name for the sour, really salty, brined, fermented, and sun-dried plum, which is how they make it palatable, because you couldn't really, it's like so astringent, you couldn't really eat it. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever had like an underripe persimmon, but I imagine that's what it would be like.
Bitter melon keeps coming to mind too. Like those are the same, the bitter melon. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Used, so when they are chopped up, they can be used, because, in Japan, they have a lot of different, spas, scratch, delete. Umeboshi, once they have been processed, are used in Japan as a seasoning agent. So they add them to like rice dishes, or how they're like doing like pickled garnishes and things like that. That one of them would be that. Then
so
they're
yummy.
also, yes, they're also used after the meal as a digestive. So kind of similar if you think about like how in England they do like biscuits and tea, or here, we could have some decaf tea or an aperitif or an aperitivo. Mm-hmm. I guess an aperitivo would be the beginning and aperitif is the end. But all of those things are really helpful for digestion. So this is their like natural digestive enzyme. Oh, this would be similar to if in the US you were using like apple cider vinegar for a short period of time, while then also rinsing your teeth so that it didn't eat away at your enamel. But kind of same idea. Let's add some vinegar. Let's add some stimulation to the stomach to create more acid, to create more enzymes in the small intestine too. The cool thing about umeboshi is that they have these digestive properties that kind of span the whole, I like to think of it as like the whole body. So it's kind of like a holistic thing, because the plums themselves are really rich in probiotic bacteria because they're fermented. So much like a kimchi, we're going to see those live cultures. They do stimulate stomach acid. And I've seen some studies. I did a paper on this like several years ago for school, and there are a lot of studies about how people use them and IBS symptoms are resolved, or they're not bloated anymore. They're able to digest food better. Their heartburn goes away, because often heartburn is a sign of low stomach acid. So when we're naturally helping to produce our stomach acid, then of course those things improve. It also helps to absorb nutrients, because like for B12, for example, stomach acid basically breaks B12 off of the food that you eat, and allows it for us to be absorbed using intrinsic factor. If you don't have stomach acid, your B12 is low. And that's why like people who are on omeprazole for long periods of time often have a higher incidence of dementia because they're not absorbing the B12. So if you have stomach acid, then you're absorbing B12. But I think one of the benefits of these plums is that it probably wouldn't be as upsetting on a PPI than like something like a HCl, which you would never take that if you were taking an acid blocker.
Those are pretty intense.
Those are
you'd be like, I
contraindicated.
definitely have a lot of acid if you go and add more acid in. Yeah.
Right. Or, well, it's okay for you to add more acid in if you have a lot. It's not okay if you're taking an acid blocker that is turning off the stimulation of the cells, parietal cells that make acid. We don't want that. That's very bad. But using something like this to naturally kind of increase that production would be great. And then, of course, they're fermented, they're probiotic, it's got fiber in it, so it's going to help with the natural bowel movement. Now, there are also citric and malic acid in these plums, and they support your body's detoxification process, like helping the liver process and eliminate those toxins more efficiently. So I thought that was pretty cool because normally this is not like added citric and malic acid. This is like naturally occurring.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
Those are great for like overall health. And then we've got immune support. So vitamin C, polyphenols, which are like those plant nutrients, antioxidants, that kind of thing. And they have potassium and magnesium in them. And they also have a little bit of antimicrobial activity, which I think is like probably a combo of the HCl driver and the probiotic is just kind of crowding out and making uncomfortable the microbes that are in there that are bothering you. They also are alkaline. They're acidic, but they have an alkalining effect on the body. It's kind of like a paradoxal. And that's because of the alkaline minerals, potassium and magnesium. And potassium also in higher concentrations lowers blood pressure, which is why the DASH diet is so effective. It's really high in potassium, magnesium. And when we look at studies of long-term use of ume plums, in the Japanese cohort, they have regular consumption of these plums reduces the rate of cardiovascular disease.
Right.
And that's, some of it's anecdotal, some of it's assumed, and then there are a few studies on it as well.
Yeah, that's so cool. I kind of want to anchor in how you said that whole body thing. Like when you mentioned all the different flavors, you've got the acrid because of and then you have sour, and you also have bitter. And I was wondering, I'm guessing probably in the brine at some point they did put a little bit of sugar in there because you would with like a pickle or, if you're pickling something, you usually do put a little bit of sugar. So they probably are sweet. So they're kind of hitting every the only thing I couldn't think of is spicy maybe isn't in there, but
they're
maybe.
not spicy.
I guess it depends on the brine. Yeah. They're more bitter and
sweet.
vinegary, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, they don't taste sweet.
Bitter, sour, and salty. It's really sour and salty.
Bitter, sour, salty.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like very liver, kidney, and heart. Liver, kidney, heart.
Yep.
I love that. That's great.
Now, there is a viral thing called the Share plum. And the Share plum is a brand of ume plum that has been fermented over 30 months per their website. But that one is like really marketed more as a laxative. Like it's individually wrapped and you eat one and like they're pretty small and there's a huge pit in them. So it's not very much like flesh of the fruit. And it's very effective. Like I have a client who has like her muscles don't really work, like her colorectal muscles. So she's got, there's always going to be issues. And this is the one thing that will like more than a Senecot.
Get things moving. Yeah.
Not everything takes a few days for her. So I would say use with caution because someone who can take like every laxative in the world, we wouldn't want to take the same dose as them, especially right away. So like taking a little bite of them.
But it has so many nourishing proproperties too, along with it. Like it's not just push down and spastic muscles. It's more nourishing everything that's kind of involved. That's great.
Exactly.
With all those flavors.
And adding stomach acid and helping with nutrient absorption and motility. But the Share plums, I think, are marketed more like a laxative, and they are like a little like cute, and their marketing is better. So if you were to just get umeboshi plums from Amazon instead of Share plums,
your local cool Asian market that you haven't been to before, and just go explore that.
Yes. And ask them if they have umeboshi, because the fermented plum is going to be there. And then you can mess around with that as a seasoning too.
And there would most likely be some dates there. There'd probably be some gochita berries there.
Just hop on in there.
Yeah. Get some rice noodles because those are so overpriced at other places, but they're very affordable there. Get those.
Japanese eggplant. The best snow peas are always at Asian markets. And mung beans. I love mung beans.
Yes. Yeah, those are good.
Those are the ones that come in your pad thai.
But they're
I know,
good.
but I like to eat them like at chips.
Oh, like you'd eat them like you're eating a chip? A mung bean?
Just
the teeny tiny little ones?
Well, I think it comes from working in a kitchen for so long. Like certain things can be more like a snack. Because when you have like a 2-pound bag and you're just like, I'll just
eat these.
No, maybe it's just me, but
I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I've always not liked them. They're a little bit like mushy to me. I don't know. I don't really love them.
They're not
so
great
popular
cooked.
in Chinese cuisine. So good because they're so
really good
nourishing
raw.
for the kidney energy.
Yes. And I think what happens when we get them on pad thai, for an example, as most people are probably familiar with, is that the heat cooks them and then it just turns into like a little string that doesn't really have any fun.
Yeah, totally.
But they're really good raw. They taste like nothing.
Yeah. I love that story.
All right. Well, that's it.
There's some food funness for you from the east
digestion
side of the
support,
world.
blood support, spirit, and constipation. All wrapped into 2 little
livers, kidneys, hearts. We got it all.
Please, if you don't mind, if you're listening this long, we know that you are more than happy to like and subscribe to the podcast.
Yes, please.
Tell us what you want to hear about, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
That sounds great.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We offer personalized support to clients in many ways and would love to work with you. Reach out to Lara at Lala's Wellness and Molly at Women's Gut Health for more information. Unlock your full health and hormone potential with Super Q, Boom Bomb, and Best Tea. Check out the link in the show notes for more. See you next Saturday.